What's going on? It is your good sis Lyss. And today's episode is about something God has been having me practice several times over the last few years, and especially recently. God ordained stillness. Not laziness, not procrastination, but a divine pause. Days and seasons where God pulls you out of the fast lane, slows you down, and says, "Take a back seat and let me drive." And if you've been wondering why everything feels so quiet in your life, this episode might be for you. A be still day, or season, is when God intentionally slows you down emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or even physically. Here's why he might be doing that. To realign you with his priorities, not your pace. To prepare you for what's ahead that you're not yet ready to carry. To protect you from what you can't see coming. To draw your attention back to him fully and undistracted. Sometimes it shows up as burnout. Other times it's divine redirection. And sometimes it's consecration. In the Bible, consecration means to set something or someone apart for God's purpose. It's not just about stepping away from distractions, it's about stepping closer to him. Much of this year, and including right now, God has been inviting me into consecration. He's been inviting me into a still place, not to do less, but to be with him more. He didn't remove all my responsibilities, but he did ask me to be less communicative, to receive less from the outside world, and to come sit with him. I even skipped recording podcast episodes. And that meant something to me, because I've been consistent. The last 7 episodes went up week after week after week, no matter what. And for context, my first 7 episodes ever took me a year and a half to complete. So to pause this rhythm, I had to understand this wasn't out of laziness, it was out of obedience. Because God made it clear to me when he said, "There's rest and revelation in this still, quiet place. So come here." Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Let's break this down. Psalm 46 was written during a time of intense turmoil. Earthquakes, nations in uproar, war on every side. And right in the middle of all the chaos, God speaks and says, "Be still." That phrase "be still" is translated from the Hebrew word rapha. It doesn't just mean calm down or be quiet. It means to let go, loosen your grip, stop striving, and surrender control. In this context, God is inviting trust, not passivity. He's calling us to release the need to fix, to fight, to figure it all out, and to recognize his sovereignty right in the midst of the storm. It's not about doing nothing, it's about resting in the one who holds everything together. Now here's something that I recently learned. Though Rapha, meaning be still, and Rapha, meaning healer, sound a lot alike in English, there are 2 different Hebrew words with distinct meanings. There's Rapha, the one we're talking about, which is spelled Raphah. This is the one that invites you into surrender, to release, to relax, and to trust. And then there's Rapha, Rapha, so no H at the end. And this one means to heal, to restore. So one word calls you to let go, and the other promises to make whole. But back to the scripture and the context of what was going on. This was a battlefield. The earth was shaking, kingdoms were collapsing, everything felt unstable, and God didn't say take cover or handle it. He said, "Be still. Let go, surrender control, and trust me more than your own strength." Not because the storm is over, but because I am still God in the storm. So here's the takeaway. God isn't asking you to be passive. He's asking you to stop relying on your own effort. He's not telling you to do nothing. He's telling you to stop trying to do everything. So today, if you need to, be still. Not because life is calm, but because God is steadfast. Let's go to one of the most intense stillness moments in the Bible. In the book of Exodus, the Israelites, God's chosen people, have been living in Egypt for generations. But over time, they were enslaved by the Egyptians. For about 400 years, they were forced into harsh labor under the rule of Egypt's king, Pharaoh. God raised up Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery, and after a series of miraculous signs and plagues sent by God, Pharaoh finally agreed to let them go. But soon after their departure, Pharaoh changed his mind. He realized he had just released an entire nation of laborers. So he gathered his army, including hundreds of chariots, and chased after them. Now, the Israelites are caught in a terrifying situation because they have the Red Sea in front of them, which is blocking any way forward, and Pharaoh's army is closing in behind them, leaving them no way to return back. And they're on foot, unarmed, exhausted, and afraid. The people cry out in panic, questioning why they ever left Egypt in the first place. And in the middle of their fear, God speaks through Moses and gives this command. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will give you today. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:13-14. Be still here doesn't mean sit down. It meant to hold your position. Don't run. Don't panic. Trust God right here. Before God parted the Red Sea, creating a dry path right through the water so the Israelites could escape, He told them to be still. At that point, they didn't know a miracle was coming. All they saw was a sea in front of them and an army behind them. But instead of giving them a plan, God gave them a posture. Trust without movement. It wasn't about running away, reacting in fear, or problem solving. It was about faith standing still. Stillness is often how God sets the stage for a supernatural shift. He didn't need their effort. He needed their surrender. And that's when the sea opened. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Psalm 37:7. Psalm 37 was written by David, and it speaks directly to a tension many of us still feel today. Why do wicked people seem to win, while righteous people wait? The wicked, as in people who chase success without God, they seem to rise quickly. And the righteous, the people who honor God, but often have to wait longer for their breakthrough. David isn't just venting, he's giving wisdom from experience. Don't let envy or impatience pull you out of position. It's easy to look at someone else's progress and assume God is late, when really, He's being deliberate. Psalm 37 reminds us, just because something moves quickly doesn't mean it's built to last. And just because your breakthrough feels slow doesn't mean God has forgotten you. Be still in this verse is about not reacting to what looks unfair. Don't rush to keep up. Don't panic when others seem to pass you. Don't compromise to catch up. Just because it's not happening for you yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. Be still, trust the pace God set for your life, and don't compare your pace to someone else's race. You ever have one of those moments where everything hits at once. The kind of chaos that feels bigger than you, louder than logic, and heavier than hope. You're trying to hold it together, but the pressure won't let up. And honestly, you're starting to wonder if God even sees what's happening. It's in moments like this that we wonder, where is God? Does he see this? Does he even care? Believe it or not, there's a story in the Bible where Jesus' closest friends probably felt the same way. They were out on a boat, crossing a large lake, when a sudden violent storm hit. These weren't beginners. Many of them were experienced fishermen. But this storm was so intense, even they thought they were going to die. The wind is howling. The waves are crashing into the boat. Water is pouring in. Panic is rising. And Jesus, he's asleep on a cushion in the back of the boat. The disciples are terrified. They rush to wake him up and shout, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Then it happens. He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. Mark 4:39. Let's break that down. Jesus stood up in the middle of the storm and spoke straight to it. The Greek word he used for be still is phimo, and it means to muzzle something or shut it up completely. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. He was saying to the storm, you don't get to speak anymore. You don't have permission to keep causing chaos. Some quick background information. The Bible is written in two main languages, Hebrew and Greek, because it was written across different times and different cultures. The Old Testament was written mostly in Hebrew, since it was for the Jewish people. The New Testament was written in Greek, which was the common language when Jesus was alive. That's why be still in Psalm 46:10, the Old Testament, it comes from a Hebrew word, rapha. Remember, with the H on the end. And be still in Mark 4:39, the New Testament, comes from a Greek word, phimo. But back to the storm. Before Jesus calmed the storm, he was already resting in it. He wasn't calm because the storm was over. He was calm because he trusted who was in control. And that's the invitation for us too. Sometimes God calms the storm around you. And other times, he wants to calm the storm inside you, even when everything around you is still swirling. Four things you should do on a be still day or in a be still season. Number 1, rest without guilt. Rest isn't laziness, it's obedience. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle, but God values holy pauses. Rest is how he restores what burnout tries to take. If your hands are always busy, they may be too full to receive what God is trying to give. Sometimes the very breakthrough you're praying for can't arrive because your soul is too noisy, too tired, or too distracted to even hold it. Stillness isn't wasted time. It's sacred space. It's where your strength is renewed, your spirit is recentered, and your pace is realigned with his purpose. Number 2, write down what God reveals. Stillness is often where vision is restored. When distractions are quiet, direction gets clearer. Don't trust your memory with what God meant for your journal. After all, the more space and time you give him to speak, the more he will share. The Bible even says, write the vision and make it plain. It's not always enough to just hear it. Write it down so you don't forget what he said when everything was quiet. Number 3, pray and listen. Don't just talk at God. Make space to hear from him. Prayer is where closeness with God is formed, not just where answers are requested. Stillness is often where his whisper becomes clear. not because he wasn't speaking before, but because now you're finally quiet enough to recognize his voice. Sometimes we think God is silent, when in reality, we've just been too loud to hear him. Number 4, avoid the urge to self-distract. Stillness can feel awkward because silence exposes what busyness helps us avoid. We're quick to scroll, snack, multitask, or fill every quiet moment just so we don't have to sit with our thoughts, or with God. But silence isn't empty. It's the space where conviction gets clear, healing starts to rise, and clarity begins to form. Breakthroughs are often born in the very space we usually try to escape. If you're in a be still season, don't rush it. Don't resent it. And please don't mislabel it as failure. God isn't the one who's in a hurry. You are. That's why you're tired. That's why you're anxious. So let him slow you down so he can strengthen you right where you are. Until next time, be still. Know that he is God and take care.